Going to learn how to create a material or an assignment. The difference between a material and an assignment is that a material is something you just want students to see, but not necessarily for them to do. An assignment would be an activity that it needs to complete. So we're going to start by using the Create button. And we're going to create a Zoom link that's going to go underneath that topic so that students can easily access our Zoom sessions. We're going to go to Material. And we get this new window that opens up. We're going to call this Zoom link, but before I type that in, I'm going to use the super secret awesome option that I showed you when you press a control click on your keyboard and trackpad. You get the emojis and symbols. I like to use the laptop here so that it indicates that this is a website link, and we're going to call it Zoom link. And I already happen to have my Zoom link copied from my Zoom application. So I'm going to click the Add button. In this case, it's a link. And I can hit Paste, which is on a Mac, it's Command V. I'm going to paste that link in. If you don't have it, you'll need to get to your Zoom session and copy that link and type it in here or paste it in here. And I can click Add Link. I can put something in the description if I want to. Click here to access our Zoom sessions or dates and times or whatever I want to put in here. But this is something that students should just click on once, so I probably don't want to put a lot of description in here. The topic here, I want it to be under Zoom link. You'll notice that I have the option to put this on multiple classes. So if this were a Zoom link and I was a teacher in multiple classes and I wanted them to have the same link, I could select all of the different classes I'm a teacher on. I could also select multiple students. In this case, this class doesn't have any yet, but if this was something specific to just certain students, I could select which students. I'm going to leave these default settings as is, and I'm going to select Post. Now you will see a Zoom link underneath the Zoom link topic. I would continue with the resource section, and in the resource section I would likely put a link to our ClassLink page so that students can access their tools like Dreambox or Keyboarding Without Tears or any other websites that they need. So in here I would follow the same process. I would use Create Material and paste in links to necessary tools. I'm going to move ahead to the Week at a Glance because I want to show you how to add that in. I'm going to press Create again, and this is still going to be a material because this is something I just want students to look at. They don't need to interact with it yet. We're going to call it Week at a Glance. The difference is, in this case, I'm going to put the dates on here so that we know for sure this is the current week. And I could again put a description if I wanted to. In this case, I'm going to use the Add button, and I'm going to go to Google Drive because I already have this created and it's in my Google Drive. You'll notice that when I click that, I have a lot of choices to interact with my Google Drive. I can go to my Recent section and see what I've most recently been working on. I can upload something if it's not in my drive. I can click my drive and it will pull up all of my files and folders. I can use the Share Drive section if it's something that's shared. And if it's in my Starred folder, I can also use that as well. In this case, it happens to be right here. I should also mention, by the way, that I do have a search box at the top. So if I know what it's called, but it doesn't show up right on my Recent section, I can search for it in here as well. I'm going to click this Weekly Organizer and select Insert. Again, I have choices here as to which class do I want this for. So if I teach multiple sections that are going to use the same weekly organizer, I can select them here and my students. The topic is important because I don't want it floating in the middle of my classroom. I want it on the current Week at a Glance section. Oh, and I noticed here as I was about to post that I forgot to put the emoji in front. This is a good opportunity to show you that you can go back and put that in. If I put my cursor right in front of the Week at a Glance and I use my control click and my emojis, I can go back and add that calendar icon. The little emojis are helpful just so that they show the kids by looking for symbols. I press Post. And now you'll see it's under the current week at a glance. The final thing that I'm going to do, and here's a quick sample, but we're going to build one of these together, is we're going to add our first assignment for students to complete. So I'm going to press create, and this time I'm going to select assignment. I'm going to give it a title, and in the case of my title, I'm going to do a few things. One, I'm going to use my control click and get my emojis. I want this one to be a language arts lesson. So I would like to use, oops, I lost my emojis. Let me try that one more time. I've already used this stack of books. This is going to be my language arts symbol. You can find that in the emoji section if you scroll through the tools. I indicated that just so that students know this is a language arts activity. I like to start labeling this with the day of the week and then the date. And then I like to give it a subject in case they didn't understand the symbol. And finally, the name of the lesson. So this is going to be a frog and toad activity. The reason why it's important to include a lot of information here is if you simply put the date, that's great and students will be able to find it. But for you, if you wanted to reuse this post on a following year or in a different class, you wouldn't know what the assignment actually was if it just had the date. If you wanted to share this with a colleague as well, without the actual content like frog and toad, you don't know what the lesson includes. So it's helpful to use this format for all of your assignments so that you can find that, and so that your students can also know exactly what's going to be in there. Now again, I have instructions here, and I'm going to write my instructions. Step 1 is to watch the frog and toad video. Step 2, okay, step 2 is complete frog and toad activity on Seesaw, and step 3 is click turn in when finished. So let's take a look at how to add these in. I'm going to add step 1 by using the add button, and I have 4 choices here: Google Drive, Link, File, or YouTube. In this particular sample, we're just going to find a YouTube video. If this was an actual lesson, you probably have a video somewhere. You can use a link to a website that contains the video if you already own the video and you made it and it's in your drive, or if it's a file you want to upload. In this case, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to YouTube, and I'm literally going to grab a frog and toad video. This is not exactly best practice. But we're going to take this very first video, assuming that this is what we want, and we're going to click add. Now the second thing that we need to do, it says here that we're going to be doing a frog and toad activity in Seesaw. You can see in Seesaw that I've already built this frog and toad activity, and it's waiting for students to complete it. When I'm in Seesaw, there are 3 dots below the activity that if I click the 3 dots, you'll see an option that says Get Student Link. I can click that, and it will copy the activity link. Now that I have the link copied, I can go back into my classwork, and I can add a link. I can paste that in. Press add link, and you will see that it has now the frog and toad video and the link directly to that activity. It will require the student to sign in to Seesaw if they're not already signed in. The third step, click turn in when finished, will appear in the student view. They'll have a box at the top that says turn in. Well, you can't see that in the teacher view. So let's check the rest of our settings. We want this for our current class, but again, we could select other classes or other students if this was something that only certain students were doing. The point value is default at 100. I don't generally use a point value, so I can change this to ungraded. but if for some reason you wanted to assign a value, you can make this any value you want. You can click the drop down and change it to whatever value you want, but I've selected ungraded. The due date, what I typically do with a due date is I usually put the date that I want the students to work on it. So this is Tuesday the 8th, so I'm going to select then. If I'm giving them until Friday to complete the assignment or till Sunday to complete the assignment, then I would select that date. The topic, this is important. We want it to be on the September 7th topic. We don't need to worry about the rubric or plagiarism, although these are some fun features to learn about in a more advanced Google Classroom session. So now that we have all this correct, we would press the Assign button. Before I do, I just want to show you the drop down here that indicates some choices. I can schedule this. If I don't want the students to see this ahead of time, maybe I'm working a week out, or maybe I'm just building something that I don't want them to see until that day, you can schedule for when you want them to see this assignment. You could also just save this. If you're not finished or you want to come back and add more to it later, you can save it as a draft, or you can discard it and start over. I'm going to go and select the Assign button. Now that you'll take a look here, you'll see I have my assignment here with the date, the day, the number date, the subject area, and then the title of the lesson. The thing to notice here is I have a different icon here. These are made by Google. This indicates that this is just a material for students to look at, and this is something students need to complete. Now you know how to create a material or assignment in Google Classroom.